Before we begin the video, I would like to give a big shout out to our most recent Patreon supporters: Brianna, Dream Maniacs, Sugar Dog, Infinite Ginger, Rerekura Matamua, The Rixon, Michael Foster, Ethan Bergeron, Joe, Luis Longo, Dave Moore, and Caio Estamil. Thank you very much for your support. And if you wish to support us on Patreon, feel free to click the link below in the description to find out more. I'll see you there.
These words almost never fail me. Every time. Just Monica. Just Monica.
Just Monica.
I deleted Monica.
Yuri for life, son. Whoop, whoop.
Like I said, I lost all attraction to Yuri when he started doing weird voices for her.
I mean, you've got some things to find out.
Oh, you mean when I did my Herbert voice and my Tyrone voice?
And the Squidward voice, yeah.
Hello, my name is Yuri, and I like to write suicidal poetry. Sorry. But Doki Doki Literature Club is a game that came out 2017, around that.
2017, I'm pretty sure, yeah.
Yeah, and Team Savada, I remember a long time ago, myself and the meme squad, we played Doki Doki Literature Club, and then we watched the game theory for Doki Doki Literature Club, and I didn't play through it this time, but I did sit in for probably the most jarring moment of the entire game, and did some voices and had fun. But these two played through it in its entirety, and here we find ourselves yet again recapping the game theories, the two game theories, plus a update post from Team Savado as to why a game did not come out in 2018. But we'll get to that. So yeah. Game theory, we actually did didn't notice it, that Streamlabs OBS, they have the counter back now.
It.
Yeah, they got the counter back. Nice. Thanks.
So we can tell how ridiculously long we've gone on each video now.
Don't remind me.
All right.
Don't remind me, man, because
So yeah, I played it on stream, so if you guys want to see my playthrough, we can link it in the description. If you want to watch that whole thing, we and Lynette basically stayed up the whole night playing it.
Oh God, y'all were up for 8 hours. Yeah. Y'all finished it faster than we did. We went for 9 hours.
I started going fast to the point because I was getting a little frustrated with the fact that I was having to read the same shit again a lot. And I was like, do something cool.
And then it does something cool. And
but B, I
missed it.
B, I was just like, oh crap, if we're gonna finish this tonight, I need to be in bed very soon. So I was just trying to rush a little bit. So I think that's why we got through a little faster. But
still though.
Yeah.
It was pretty cool. I think it's not quite as disturbing as everybody said it was.
It's because it got ruined for you, man.
Probably,
Yeah.
but
certain people ruined it for you. We know who you are.
it didn't get
We will
ruined
find
for
you.
me. It was after it's been out for that long, you're gonna hear about it. So I knew.
Yes.
I knew it wasn't just a regular dating sim, or anything. I knew it was.
Yeah,
there was a point to me playing it. I was playing it because I knew it was going to turn dark at a point, and that's what I was waiting on.
And of course, the first tag on stream is psychological horror, so
It doesn't really hide itself.
yeah.
Although
but it was
avoiding
actually
spoilers-
really sad, and I was in a weird fucking mood for the whole next day.
That's
I'll
right.
give you
Yes,
that
yes.
much at least. Yeah.
He told me about that. It was very interesting.
Yeah, I was in
seeing him the
a
next
very
day.
strange mood the next day for some reason. It was kind of like when you watch Donnie Darko, how it
Yeah.
puts you in a weird mood
And you're just kind of like,
for a
oh,
while. Yeah, and
Like,
I don't know.
yeah.
All of a sudden,
it was
your
just very
nihilism kicks
sad.
in.
Obviously, if you're watching this, you probably have played it. I hope you're not watching this and just getting everything spoiled for you. But
This is exactly what we talked about when me and the meme squad reacted to this a long time ago.
It was like disturbing, like whenever the first character kills themselves. Obviously, because it's it's a suicide, but the way they set it up, it was actually a lot more depressing than disturbing to me.
Yeah.
So like, I was kind of just like sad about it, I guess, for the whole next day is what happened.
Yeah.
When the second one killed herself, at that point, the game had kind of already broken reality. So I was just kind of like, all right, like when that happened, it's, and plus the fact that I had seen in a GIF or something like that girl stabbing herself before. So I was just kind of like, that's where that's from.
Actually, I think I remember exactly what it was from. It was a Twitch timing. It was a Twitch timing compilation.
Okay.
Because the guy was sitting there, he's just like, this can't possibly get any worse, right? It can't. And he clicked no, and then all of a sudden she starts laughing, and he's like, well, she probably found something funny. Stab, and all of a sudden he's like, it got worse.
Yep. Yeah. The game is like, it's slow. But it's subtle too. It's like the little like music dropping out and like the tilt of the screen, or just the fact that the eyes are just slightly different than they were before, or things like that. It's very it plays with a lot of subtleties. Yes, and that's what I think is so fun about it, is because it's not outright like trying to be like disturbing, scary, jump. It's like, I'm gonna make you feel a little uncomfortable for a while.
It's like that feeling I got when I watched Midsommar.
Yeah. And Midsommar does do that whole scene where this stuff starts slowly tilting, and then all of a sudden everything like spins around. And I was thinking of Doki Doki the whole time I watched that.
I know what you're saying. I know what you're saying, because that one scene where everyone's just like dancing around and everything's distorted and they're all talking gibberish, and I'm like, this reminds me of Wait a second.
No, actually, like when they first go into it, they have this whole scene where it's like slowly tilting, and then it's like everything, it's almost like the world spins around.
Oh, yeah.
But then all of a sudden it's daytime all the time. And it's just nobody really like, they kind of mention it, but nobody is like, oh, this is fucking weird,
Well, it is. I mean, it's one reason why I want to go to Iceland, because Iceland had, like, during summers, have days that last for 24 hours.
Right.
And I'm just like, I can imagine being up for 24 hours and just being like, what time is it? And they'll be like, it's actually 4 a.m. What? I'll just, like, it'll be completely confusing. Actually, I have a friend who's been to Alaska, and there was a time he didn't sleep for 2.5 days, and he didn't feel it because his brain didn't register that it had been 2.5 days, because, he was so close to the Arctic Circle during the summer solstice.
I actually would love to live in Alaska. That is definitely a place that I would go isolate myself. And
the last frontier. The last frontier, eh, Nick?
Yeah, because you're going to die up there.
Yeah.
It'll be the last place you live.
Just freeze.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're going to freeze or get eaten by vampires or,
polar bears, a multitude of other things could get you. But don't go like that for deadliest catch that work on a crab fishing boat.
Oh yeah,
you're gonna get fucked up.
Yeah, you're gonna get crushed.
You're gonna have a bad time.
Yeah.
Okay.
All of a sudden you pull out one of those king crabs. It all of a sudden looks up at you, realizes what you're wanting to do to it. It's like, I'm gonna eat you now. Yeah.
Yes.
So, all that being said, though, Doki Doki, we have both game theories up here. We're going to watch them both in succession and look at the Team Savato announcement that came a little bit after these came out. So, let's see what happens. Here we go. 3, 2, 1, what?
What? Said
what?
Alrighty.
Oh, I thought you were just like...
I thought you were like,
I thought
what?
you said, like, hold on a minute.
Make the map, Pat, speak to me. Go.
Okay.
Make it
Oh,
too.
no way, a text message. Who's it from? Aw, Jacksepticeye, how sweet. And there's a picture? Wait, that's not how I wrote this gag. Another one. What's going on here?
Wait. What the heck? Steph! Steph, are you pranking me?
You promised you'd spend time with me, Matt. Me. And only me. 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 Now let's make a theory together.
Uh-oh.
That's pretty good.
Hello, Internet! Welcome to Game Theory, where it's our goal to systematically prove that everything in your life is secretly terrifying. Over the years, we've made you fear public Wi-Fi, minimum wage jobs, and even the house next door. But today, we're gonna talk about a game that'll make you stop trusting the very computer you're using to watch this video. Unless you're part of the 75% of users who watch this show on a tablet, phone, console, or TV. In which case, just pretend you're scared too. Okay. Looking at its Steam store page, Doki Doki Literature Club seems harmless enough. A cutesy, pastel-tinged dating sim starring 4 adorable waifus, as the kids say, all of whom you can try your hand at wooing for the low, low price of free. But look a little closer and it quickly becomes clear that this game isn't the fun, light-hearted visual novel that it makes itself out to be. For starters, the top tag on the Steam store page is psychological horror, which makes it seem misclassified. And at the bottom of the game's description, which is a cute little greeting note from the Literature Club's president, Monica, you'll find a very stern warning in bold letters. This game is not suitable for children or those who are easily disturbed. And in case you missed that one, the game greets you with that message yet again as you boot it up. One final reminder that this isn't meant for the faint of heart. It seems like a joke, right? But let me assure you, it is no joke. So in that
That's
spirit, it's your
photoshopping
last
there.
chance to stop watching this video before I spoil the heck out of it. It is without exact...
So spoiler
So,
warning.
spoiler warning, everybody. Let this be a warning to you. If you have not played this game...
It's free on Steam. Just go play it and then come back.
Yes.
Yeah. Take
After
you about 8 or 9 hours.
You don't need a gaming computer to play this. You can play this on your old piece of trash, whatever you have.
Yes.
It's not
Yes.
going to take anything to run.
Yeah.
Exaggeration, one of the best written, most surprising game stories of this year, even if it takes about 2 hours of fairly slow-paced visual novel action before you get to the really good stuff. Play it yourself, you're not going to regret it, or just watch our highlight playthroughs on GT Live.
I do
You'll
want to
get the
interject
point.
that
Okay.
it is a very well done dating simulator.
Yes.
It is very good.
Well, the idea of a
Wait.
dating simulator where you just
Wait.
write poetry to pick who you like is
Wait.
kind of cool.
Yeah.
Lynette,
So cute.
better than Dream Daddy?
I have not played Dream Daddy
Ah,
yet, actually.
That was... I haven't either. I'm going to be
But
honest.
from what I hear, it's amazing. And that's,
Yeah, I
that's-
guess.
So if you're still here after that and you haven't played the game or watched our GT Live playthrough, which I'm sure is still a lot of you, let me give you a quick rundown. During your first playthrough, Doki Doki Literature Club seems like a normal visual novel with a pretty neat mechanic of composing poems in order to woo the various girls in the club. Your childhood friend Sayori, quiet bookish Yuri, and young aggressive Natsuki. But at the end of
The
your
tsundere.
first run, strange things begin happening. It all starts when Sayori succumbs to her depression and commits suicide. Soon after, she's deleted from the story entirely, and you're kicked back to the title screen. But something is clearly not right this time. As you replay the game, the world begins breaking apart as it tries to move forward without Sayori in it. Eventually, you discover that the club's president, Monica, has become self-aware within the game and is manipulating the game's code, even files on your very computer in a desperate attempt to make you, the player, love her. When nothing else works, she deletes everything else in the game, leaving just Monica. Just Monica and you in the club room with nothing to do but talk. Forever. At least until you do what she did to the other characters and delete her character file in order to save everyone else and reach the true ending. Doki Doki Literature Club intentionally leaves a lot dangling for gamers to figure out on their own. But out of all of it, one question has been bugging me nonstop since I finished playing it. What is the story behind Monica? The game presents her as simply being a character in a visual novel who suddenly becomes self-aware, but all of that doesn't quite add up. The way DDLC is designed, the way that Monica manipulates it, and the things that she says in her extended conversation with you all hint that there's something much more sinister going on with her. And that is the theory for today. That's right, dear theorists. The hidden truth of Doki Doki Literature Club is that Monica is from a different game. Monica is Flowey, who also happens to be Porky from Earthbound, who's really the purple guy from FNAF.
Really?
Careful.
Sorry, the rest of the Theor's team just pulled me aside for a quick intervention.
Good.
Apparently I'm banned from making any links between this game and Undertale. Or any game and Undertale. Really, I'm not allowed to touch
Thank you,
Undertale
Theory team.
anymore.
Thank
But in
you.
all seriousness, Monica
I was about
is
to be like,
from
fucking
a
for real?
different game.
We're
and
going
not
with
just
this?
Monica either. Doki...
Again, you see, he's grown since then,
Yeah.
and he understands he has to be more careful now. Appreciated. Thank you, MatPat.
Doki has a lot more to it than first meets the eye, even once you make it through the main story, because the ending isn't even the ending. When you restart the game after deleting Monica, Sayori assumes the role of club president now, and things are pretty normal until the end of the first day, when you get perhaps the biggest twist of them all. Sayori now is self-aware, expressing the exact same desire to hoard you to herself that Monica did. So there's gotta be something that at least Monica and Sayori have in common, and possibly the other girls as well, that's making all of this possible. See, there's something about the way Doki Doki Literature Club is designed that doesn't quite add up. Throughout your second playthrough, Monica reveals that she's been manipulating events behind the scenes the whole time, that she's been messing with Yuri, Natsuki, and Sayori's character files by amplifying their worst traits so that you'll like them less and you'll like her more. That's why Yuri goes from being a little bit clingy to being self-harming and obsessive, why Natsuki goes from being flirty mean to just being a plain old jerk, and why Sayori goes from being mildly depressed to suicidal in the span of a few days. These are all the consequences of Monica haphazardly adjusting their character parameters behind the scenes, but hold on a second. That might seem to make sense on the surface, but if you actually stop and think about it, that's not really how visual novels work at all. Visual novel characters aren't AI-based. Their behavior is determined entirely by what's written in the game's script. The game's dialogue script, not programming script. I can see how that gets confusing. There's simply no need for a character in a dating sim to have complicated behaviors like this. But what if they were created for a more complex game? What if the characters in Doki Doki Literature Club were intended to be used in a different game altogether? One where they would need to have more complex, believable responses to a greater range of player choice. What if repurposed from that game in order to make this dating sim? It's not just speculation. The clues are there, hidden in plain sight in Doki Doki's central mechanic, the poems. Over the course of the first act, you read poems from all the other club members, which seems pretty innocent. Sure, reading between the lines, you can start to get hints that Sayori is depressed, that Yuri is prone to self-harm, and that Natsuki is being abused by her father, but it's nothing overt. In the game's second act, you're given 3 randomly selected special poems out of a possible 11 that makes these hints much more overt. But there's one of these poems in particular that really stands out. A huge block of redacted text with only a few letters left visible, spelling out the question, that would be unsettling enough on its own, but if there's one thing Scott Cawthon has trained me to do, it's to run dark images through Photoshop and play around with sliders. If you crank up the exposure on that image all the way to max capacity, suddenly it becomes possible to read the full text, and man, it is weird. Irregular heartbeat, heart palpitations, arrhythmia. I search and search, eyes scanning everything I can find on their symptoms. What is this? Shortness of breath? Chest pain? Dizziness? No, this is all wrong. Alyssa's symptoms are nowhere near this simple. I've seen it twice now. The screams of pain, sickeningly pale skin, vomiting blood. There is no other explanation other than that Renier's information was a complete and utter lie. This can't all be coincidence. It's not possible. I don't know how much of this Renier is behind, but I do know this. There is something horribly wrong with this family. When I accepted the invitation to become a part of it, I can hear Alyssa's screams through the walls now. I listen helplessly. Renier said he would be with her shortly. Is he in her room now? Why is she screaming even louder than before? Chilling, right? This creepy letter is literally hidden right in front of your face while you play this game. And what's it all mean? Well, those opening lines make it sound like someone who's trying to identify an illness. Irregular heartbeat, heart palpitations, arrhythmia are all possible problems of the heart, so it's not so much this person is making a diagnosis, but rather it's someone trying to read the symptoms he's seeing and figure out what the diagnosis is. It's a clinical assessment, which means that the speaker is a doctor of some kind. And notice the words he uses, their symptoms. It's an illness affecting multiple people, a family, as we see later in the letter. A family that apparently you can join. almost like a cult. It's also worth noting that this doctor who's speaking has some degree of detachment from this girl Alyssa, almost like she's a research subject of some kind, possibly part of a human experiment. And when you put all this together, a cult performing experiments on young girls, it starts sounding familiar. We hear about human experiments exactly 2 times in Doki Doki Literature Club, both times when Yuri describes the plot of The Portrait of Markov, the book that she wants to read with us. A book which has a, quote, ominous-looking eye symbol on the front cover. In the first act, Yuri makes it sound relatively innocent enough. Quote, basically it's about this girl in high school who moves in with her long-lost younger sister, but as soon as she does so, her life gets really strange. She gets targeted by these people who escaped from a human experiment prison, and while her life is in danger, she needs to desperately choose who to trust. End quote. In the second act, Yuri's personality gets a bit more unhinged, and she gives us a creepier description of what's actually going on these pages.
Little eye twitch.
Basically, it's about this religious camp that's turned into a human experiment prison. All the people trapped there have this trait that turns them into killing machines that lust for blood. But the facility gets even worse, and they start selectively breeding people by cutting off their limbs and affixing them to, and then she cuts off. That's a lot of information for a fake book, especially when you compare it to what we learn about Natsuki's favorite manga. And that's because what Yuri tells us about the Portrait of Markov isn't just a short snippet of text meant to create the illusion of a bigger story, it is the bigger story here. It's the plot of the horror game that Team Salvato is working on. The game that all 4 of these characters originate from. And if you think I'm done, oh no, we have just scratched the surface. We can dig deeper to uncover more about this horror game, including its title and release date, as well as how these 4 girls fit into the overall story, because Team Salvato left a whole ARG's worth of content hidden in Doki Doki's game files. If you thought that the Literature Club was interesting before, simply because it had these cool meta moments and jump scares, well, get ready. There's a whole other game here, just resting underneath the surface, waiting to be puzzled together, that'll start to make you really question everything you thought you knew about Sayori, Natsuki, Monica, and especially Yuri. But it's all way too much to cover in this one video, so ring the bell to subscribe, help us get closer to the glorified paperweight, so that way you can know when later this week,
the glorified paperweight, I like that.
When part 2 comes out and things start to get really crazy. I am already excited for this new game, and I think once you see what I and a bunch of Reddit community members have uncovered about it, you're gonna be really excited too. And in the meantime, remember, that's just a Monica. A Monica. Just Monica. Just Monica. Just Monica.
Right.
Yay.
So yeah, that's part 1.
That's part 1.
And now off to part 2.
And I just want to be clear, Yuri is still bae. Even though I know what is going... Even though I know.
Yuri is still bae. Agreed.
Yes.
Agreed.
Just Monica. 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 So last time we began covering the creepy hidden mystery of...
You should not have deleted me, Markov. I am still here, and I still want my Yuri. Belzeref.
Hello, Internet! Welcome to Game Theory, and my apologies for any technical difficulties we may be having during this series. So in part 1 of this theory, we start to unearth a horror game hidden underneath the cute facade that is Doki Doki Literature Club. We found a letter hidden in plain sight alluding to human experiments and cults, all topics that appear in Yuri's book, The Portrait of Markov, a book that just so happens to have a mysterious eye on the cover. This all led me to concoct a theory that the 4 girls from the club are actually characters from another game. A horror game, in fact, being produced by Team Salvato, and that this is the reason that Monica turned sentient in Doki Doki. Her AI isn't meant to be contained in a mere visual novel game. But today is where things really start to go off the rails as we dive deeper into the Portrait of Markov mystery and cover the game within this game that's itself hiding a third game. Oh yeah, and by the way, if you thought Monica was bad, well then, you should start getting really scared of Yuri. As you'll know if you finish the game, the character files in the game's directory play a huge role in the plot. Monica manipulates and deletes them one by one in her quest to make you love her, and ultimately you have to delete Monica's file in order to reach the game's true ending. But there's more in these files than just character information. Each of them is a puzzle in and of themselves, left in the game to be solved by the fans. And two fans of DDLC in particular stepped up to the challenge. Reddit users MitHost and WarChamp7 dug deep into these files and uncovered their secrets, posting their findings to the R Visual Novels subreddit, and the lore bits they uncovered broke the Portrait of Markov mystery wide open. So the character files on your computer start as .chr files, which isn't a real file format that programs can recognize, but that doesn't mean you can't open them. If you use a text editor like Notepad, you can absolutely see what's inside, and that's exactly what they did, with the text inside each file giving them clues as to what they should be doing next. Something about this visual novel makes me go through puberty. Yuri's file was the easiest to crack. It started as a bunch of random letters and numbers, but that pile of letter vomit was actually text encoded in base 64. It's an encoding technique that converts binary data into text, specifically ASCII text, the same stuff that Bob built his army using a few years ago on YouTube. That may sound like it's really hard to decode, but all you have to do is copy it and paste it into a base 64 decoder, like this one right here. When you decrypt Yuri's file, you'll see that it's actually a short story, a creepypasta which the game's director Dan Salvato confirmed that he wrote over 2 years ago and just stuck in the game as an Easter egg. It's a spooky story to be sure, but it seems to be just that, an Easter egg. A red herring. It is nothing compared to everything else hidden in these other character files. Natsuki's file came next, which, when opened in a text editor, gave the clue that this should be opened as a PNG file. Changing the extension resulted in this odd discolored image. But for anyone who's had some experience playing around with Photoshop, this color scheme may remind you of what happens when you invert the colors on a picture. It produces those signature blues and grays. So reversing that inversion, the picture suddenly starts to look like a real picture. And not just any sort of picture, a face. Rotate the image and wrap that texture
and then
around
you have
the
to cone it.
cone, then look at the cone from above, and it turns into an image of a mysterious blonde woman with
pretty crazy, huh?
This woman doesn't resemble any of the other characters in the game, or anyone talked about by him. So perhaps then she's a character from the other game being developed by Team Salvato. Maybe it's Alyssa, the girl suffering the strange illness that we heard mentioned in the letter found in the last episode. Monica's character file, when converted into a PNG, turns out to be an image of a ring with a square of black and white static in the middle. But that's not just any static, it's a QR code, was what I initially thought, but nope, it's actually way more complicated than that. And huge compliments to the guys on Reddit for solving this one. It's actually binary. Computer language. It's a bunch of ones and zeros, where one number is represented by the color black, and the other number is represented by the color white. So what MidHost did was to take those black and white pixels and convert them line by line into strings of binary, then convert that binary sequence into alphanumeric text using an online converter, which resulted in yet another pile of letters and numbers. But these should be starting to look a bit more familiar, right? It's more base 64 code, which, when converted, reveals a note that really starts to bring all this together.
Can you hear me? Who are you? I can't see you, but I know you're there. Yeah, you can definitely hear me. You've been watching for a while now, right? I guess I should introduce myself or something. My name is... Actually, that's stupid. You obviously already know my name. Sorry. Anyway, I'm guessing if you were able to put a stop to this, you would have done it by now. I mean, I know you're not, like, evil or anything, because you've already helped me so much. I really should thank you for that, for everything you've done. You're really like a friend to me, so thank you so much. I think more than anything else, I really don't want it all to be for nothing. Everyone else is dead. Maybe you already know that. I'm sure you do, actually, but it doesn't have to be that way, right? Well, there's a lot of stuff I don't understand. I don't even know if it's possible for me to understand it, but I know that this isn't my only story. I can see that now, really clearly, and I think everyone else has had that same kind of experience. Some kind of deja vu. It's the third eye, right? Anyway, I could be totally wrong about this, but I really think you might be able to do something. I think you might be able to go back, or however you want to put it, to go back and tell them what's going to happen. If they know ahead of time, then they should be able to avoid it. They should. If they remember their time with me in the other worlds, they should remember what I tell them. Yeah, I really think this might be possible, but it's up to you. I'm sorry for always being so, never mind. I know that's wrong. This is my story. It's time to be an epic hero. Both of us. 2018!
Wow, that is a lot to unpack, so let's get to it. First, it seems pretty clear that this was written by Monica, as evidenced by the "you've been watching me for a while now," and "you already know my name" lines. It also seems to be written after Doki Doki's true ending, where she destroys the game. Notice how she comments that there's something you as a player can't stop, something that's killed everyone else, which is why she destroyed the game in the first place. But now come the bizarre parts. She says that she's experienced some sort of deja vu, and that this isn't her only story, supporting the idea that she's coming from somewhere else, perhaps, once again, a different game. And it's not just her either, it's all four of them. Quote, everyone else has had the same kind of experience. What's most exciting though is her suggesting that perhaps we as the player can, quote, go back and tell them what's going to happen. If they know ahead of time, they should be able to avoid it, meaning that we're going to be tasked with trying to jog their memories, or that in this new game there'll be some sort of Easter egg calling back to the events of Doki Doki. Quote, if they remember their time with me in other worlds. Other worlds, like other games that these characters have been used in. That maybe we can do something in these other games to warn the girls and prevent Doki Doki from ever happening in the first place. And the conclusion is pretty much the most blatant. Team Salvato has another game coming in 2018, and in this game, Monica isn't the villain. She's the hero. Of everything in Monica's letter though, one reference in particular really stands out, blaming this deja vu on what she calls the third eye. And it's not just Monica either. This third eye is hidden throughout your time with the literature club. During Act 2, you're always given 2 regular poems. Once the game starts to break, the first poem that Netsuki gives you is a string of random letters and numbers, which at this point we're old pros at decoding. Using base 64, the text reveals a creepy hidden poem titled Open Your Third Eye, which describes the narrator taking pleasure in stabbing someone to death. The second poem that Yuri gives you seems, at first glance, to be a huge block of random words.
Yeah, that was
hidden in
what I was trying to
plain
figure
sight
out.
at the end of it is another ominous passage that describes a compulsive stabbing and concludes with the line, quote, the lust continues to linger through my veins. An ache in my muscles stems from the unreleased tension experienced by my entire body. Her third eye is drawing me closer. That's 3 characters now who've brought up this third eye. The same eye that happens to be described on the cover of the portrait of Markov. And remember what Yuri said about the plot of the book last episode. All the people trapped in the human experiments at the religious camp have this trait that turns them into killing machines that lust for blood. That trait is undeniably the third eye. All of this points to Team Salvato's new game being about human experimentation, researching a psychic phenomenon that invokes uncontrollable bloodlust in the people exposed to it. Which brings us to the last piece of the puzzle, Sayori's character file, which is by far the trickiest to decipher. In order to unlock its secrets, you need to convert it into an OGG audio file, which sounds like a lot of random noise at first. But when you open that audio in a visualizer program and then apply a spectrograph to that visualization, you reveal a QR code that, when scanned, takes you to the website projectlibitina.com. Whew, that is a ton of work just to reach a page of plain text. But the information contained within that text is eye-opening. Third eye-opening, that is. The page is an examination report dated January 5th, 2004, which describes horrifying experiments being performed on a 3-year-old psychic girl with the first name Libitina. Her last name is left blank. Another blank name appears at the bottom of the page, another subject who was terminated earlier. Based on the context of the redacted poem we covered last episode, it's my guess that this girl is Alyssa. Even the number of letters in Alyssa match the number of redacted letters in the name. That's far from the only parallel to the portrait of Markov that we see here, though. A note to the head doctor at the bottom of the page reads, quote, "You are choosing to avoid the measures necessary to prevent a repeat scenario, Doctor. Will you not have as much faith in your personnel as you do in your god?" End quote. Yuri says that the book is set in a religious camp that was turned into a human experiment prison, which lines up pretty well with this mysterious doctor's reported devotion to a god of some kind, and the redacted poem's allusion to joining this mysterious family. Judging from the various notes on this webpage, the tests performed on the 3-year-old were all about activating Libetina's third eye, that lust for blood, which proved successful, but then, based on the failed test results, Libetina is then unable to suppress. But not only are we getting more and more clues as to the next game Team Salvato is working on, we're actually seeing exactly how our favorite club mates are gonna fit into the story, because I am confident 3-year-old Libetina grows up to be one of the 4 girls we see in Doki Doki Literature Club. And what's more, I can prove exactly which one it is. Libetina is a 3-year-old, and her height and weight are both average for her age, so there's not much to go on there. But if we look a bit further down the page, we see a list of noted behaviors that the researchers say should be ignored in future examinations. Twitching, vocal tics, biting, epiphoria, vomiting, screaming, harm to examiner, harm to self, misplaced laughter. There's one character who we see display almost all of these traits during Doki Doki Literature Club, particularly in that second act. Yuri. Once the game bugs out, Yuri's dialogue becomes the most erratic. We repeatedly see her eyes twitching when she talks to us, she screams a fair bit, laughs erratically at a few points, and that bit about self-harm? Hell, I don't think I need to explain that one. But these aren't the only clues that we have to go on. There are 2 more things that absolutely confirm that Yuri is Libetina. The first is her age. Libetina was born January 5th, 2001, which would make her 17 years old in 2018, the year that Project Libetina is set to release. As the only member of the Literature Club in senior year, Yuri is the only one of the girls in the right age range to be Libetina. But there's also one more piece of crucial evidence that absolutely clinches this theory, and the evidence isn't found in the game itself, or even in its data, or a random hidden webpage, but rather in the Doki Doki Literature Club merchandise store. Yeah! This guy is hiding clues in more places than Scott Cawthon. Team Salvato might not be offering much in terms of merch items, but the few items that are present reveal some very interesting details. So let's look at the posters. 4 of them are simply CG of each girl taken straight from the game. Nothing too exciting there. Another 4 are creepy original artwork featuring iconic quotes from the characters. Between all of these, there's this running motif of the girls being tied up in a red string. Even Monica has a bow wrapped around her, but Yuri doesn't seem to possess these strings. In fact, all of the red strings seem to be emerging from her heart, from this flower, whatever this is, ensnaring all the other girls, an allusion to Libetina's psychic influence over everyone else. But if that doesn't convince you, there are 2 more posters for sale featuring original artwork. One of these is a surprisingly cute picture of Monica handing you the song she sings you at the end of the game. It's cute. It's very cute. The last poster, called Yuri Unhinged, is a bit different. And when I say a bit different, I mean completely different from anything else in the game or on the site. It shows the quiet, form Yuri sitting in the classroom at sunset, toying with a knife. For someone unhinged, her posture seems oddly relaxed, even confident. In fact, it's the most confident we've ever seen her, like she's in full control of the situation. And behind her, we see all sorts of ominous text scrawled on the blackboard. And to her right, we see a poster with a big ol' Illuminati confirmed eye in the middle and the words "Help Me" scribbled along the top. This is the third eye, Yuri's third eye, and this is the only artwork where we see it depicted. Illuminati confirmed, Yuri as Libetina confirmed. Doki Doki Literature Club isn't just a free game made to promote Team Salvato's upcoming horror title, it's a part of Project Libetina. Monica is the upcoming game's protagonist, while Yuri is the monster at the center of the story, Libetina herself. This is why Yuri was so attached to the Portrait of Markov story. It is her story, and the disconnect from being put in the wrong game is the reason that Monica becomes self-aware. But hey, that's game theory.
Pretty wicked, huh?
All right.
Very wicked. And
Okay.
to tie it all together, we have this update from Team Salvato. So as the game theories mentioned, a possible game in 2018. It's 2019. We did not receive a game.
No.
But
You want me to read it?
whoever.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Nick, if you want to, go ahead.
Hello, everyone. It's been a while since I've consolidated all of my latest updates into one spot, and as the end of the year is approaching, I thought it would be a good time. This is a pretty casual post where I'd just like to go over the stuff that we have going on and where we expect things to go in the future. Personal updates. As some of you know, Team Salvato most of the time contains no more than one employee, and so the responsibility for things like fan engagement, new content, merchandise, and a lot of the business-related affairs have most often fallen on my shoulders. Given the unexpected explosive growth of DDLC in the months following release, it was a role I was not fully prepared to take on. The sudden stress resulted in a pretty sharp decline in my mental health this year. Thankfully, I've lately been feeling like I'm back on my feet, and things have started to... Your pointer's in the way.
Move forward again.
Kind of move forward again. But if it seems like a lot of the things have just taken a long time this year, it's mostly because of the difficulties I've had in adjusting to my new roles. I'm very thankful that DDLC has such wonderful fans who continue to find ways to enjoy the game, characters, and franchise. But I also have an incredibly strong desire not to let people down, and I'm also not the person to give up on my projects. So even if it takes me a long time, I'll always be coming out with cool new stuff for people to enjoy. I'll be talking about my upcoming work as I feel like they are ready to talk about, but it will just take a long time to get there. So, over the past few months, we've been working on some awesome merchandise projects and collaborations with partners we love. DDLC store, our online store, has gotten an overhaul after finding some great partners to help us run it. Alongside our usual offerings, we're now selling plushes, and we have t-shirts on the way too. We're working on a vinyl soundtrack for DDLC with art by Omocat. We're very excited for introducing this collector's item as we've gotten a number of requests for it. I think it's a great art form. The DDLC Fan Forge is in full swing with a range of products including t-shirts, posters, wallets, bags, and more. All the designs were created by DDLC fans who receive a share of the revenue for their designs. There's still a lot I would like to get done with DDLC, such as translations, porting to other platforms, and some other fun ideas I'd like to explore. Currently making the preparations necessary for these things to actually start happening, but I'm not ready to announce any kind of time frame yet. Aside from the existing DDLC game, I would love to find other fun things to do with the DDLC universe because I know how much it means to the fans, and I also see some opportunity there. So I'm playing with some ideas and hope that something will come of it someday. I'm not trying to be deliberately vague in any way. It's just an honest evaluation of where things are right now and what I'm hoping to do in the future. Again, it's something where I'll talk about things as I feel like they're ready to talk about. I frequently have people ask me when they can expect information on future Team Salvato games. While I believe the rest of this post more or less covers what I have going on, I also feel that I should explicitly state that I won't be announcing or releasing any new games in 2018. My timeline looked very different a year ago, with me thinking that after releasing DDLC, I could put 100% of my focus into my next game. But so much has changed since then, with the result being that things are just taking longer than expected. But in the end, it will be for the better, as I think I will now be able to make new games that are of higher quality than what I envisioned a year ago. I'm very eager to continue working hard on future projects that I can someday share with all of you, giving you more great experiences. Thank you for taking the time to read this update and for believing in us.
Dan.
Yeah.
So basically,
he
did plan to release something in 2018
Yeah.
like they thought, but he just didn't have time.
Yeah,
to,
and he's
much.
Like you said, he's not being deliberately vague, but you can maybe surmise from this that if the game theories are indeed on the nose or on the right path, that, you know, Dan didn't want to let people down and just not have anything. But he's...
Check it out. Mithost, the guy who, one of the guys that Matt Pat referenced as a person who helped him out figure this shit out, is now the developer and community manager for Team Salvato.
Huh.
That's awesome.
So, yeah, super cool.
Yeah.
I gotta say, I enjoy the game so much more over knowing that there's this secret underground world within the files.
Reminds me a lot of a Coheed Cambria story.
Yeah, to an extent, because they have a story within a story going on with it. So, like, I'm wondering, like, to an extent, too, but I guess people would have figured it out by now, hopefully. But, like, some of the things almost sounded like it was like, go back and warn them. Like, I don't think the files were anything you could actually change because they did turn out to be like other things. But if you could somehow have like changed a line in the code somewhere for when the game starts so that the characters would like know stuff that was going to happen, if it would play out differently or something like that.
Who knows?
Or if there's like some way to actually unlock another game that's within it. But I still don't actually get what he was talking about. He's like, this game hides a game that hides a third game, and I didn't ever really hear him touch on that third game. So I don't know if he trailed off and forgot to mention that again, or what he was talking about there.
I think maybe he was doing a trick reference to the third eye. I think that's what he was doing. He wasn't actually going to talk about a third game. He was talking. He's like, because he was just. I think he was just doing that just to play with it, because that was one thing that got me too when I first watched these. I was just like, "Where's the third game he talked about?" But then I was sitting there, and I think it was Carly who mentioned it. That may very well have been just a reference to the blind eye, or the third eye that is mentioned frequently throughout this. Yeah. And it was just another thing to add to it. I'm not sure. I really don't know.
Yeah, that would be really cool if they end up having if he ends up doing like another game that actually turns out to be completely linked to that.
Well,
the ways that he kind of thinks.
You know what I would do with it? If someone played and beat the next game, it would insert a code into Doki Doki Literature Club, whether it was downloaded or whether you were downloading it. And the only way you could prevent it from going in is if you actually deleted all the files from the previous game, or from the new game. Because what I would do is have that, and as soon as I start up Doki Doki Literature Club, all of a sudden all the girls, including Monica, look at you and they say, "Thank you. You've actually set us free from this. Y'all want to do something else?" And it completely changes up the game.
You know what I would do too is,
and it makes it a legit dating sound.
Well, it was actually like a really small download. I noticed, like, you could hide that easily within the game files for a bigger game somewhere, and like lock it really well, and just kind of put this kind of stuff in there for like clues to getting it unlocked or whatever after the fact, or just make it so that after you finish the game, it reinstalls Doki Doki on your computer automatically.
Oh, wow,
but it's a fixed version where it actually plays out and it's not so dark and everything.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Just as like an Easter egg or an extra.
Very cool.
That would be really cool.
Yeah.
So Dan, if you want help, if you're out there, if you're watching this, use our ideas.
I'm sure he has shit tons of fan ideas per use.
All thumbs up on our end. I mean, especially if you want to stoop to using our stuff. I mean, because here we are, a lowly YouTube channel.
I mean, my PayPal link's on my stream, so if you do use my ideas and you want to send me $1 or $2 for like, I mean, you don't have to.
That'd be good.
I would appreciate
at
it.
least
if you
like
decided
we
to.
could at least enough to get us a pizza or something. That'd be cool.
Yeah, if you buy me a pizza from Domino's, you can have all my ideas. I don't really care.
From now until forever.
Nah. You can have everything I have made previously. Anything new, you got to buy me another pizza for.
Exactly. Yeah.
Well, yeah. So those are the game theories, man. I mean, and pretty good stuff, huh?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's actually really cool.
How does that make you feel now that you've played the game and now that you've got to hear all of this?
Well, it's, for one thing, it's MatPat, and it's just a theory, so I take it with a grain of salt. But I do think that all that would be really cool, and I would actually be really excited if he turned out to be right on this one.
And definitely shout out to the Reddit users that like put all of the time into figuring out all of these codes and putting it out.
People like that always amaze me, just because I'm like, I wouldn't know where to start with some of this kind of stuff.
That is absolutely super cool to see all of that work compiled and like see what was hidden away in this game.
Yeah.
Also, that one picture of that girl, like, I wonder if that's supposed to be Alyssa.
Maybe.
Who knows?
That could be. I mean, could potentially be a theory on that.
Yeah.
God.
So.
Well, there you go, ladies and gentlemen. That's the Doki Doki Literature Club game theories again, and pretty interesting stuff, ain't it?
Yeah, definitely.
Oh yeah, and if you all are wanting to see more from Team Salvato, I mean, hell, check out their website, teamsalvato.com. I guarantee you that you'll see some stuff on there. It may be pretty interesting. Or if you want to see more from us, or you want to see more from Pat, rather, if you want to see more from Game Theory, links to the original videos are in the description down below. And if you want to see more from us, the subscribe button is right down there. The bell that you can ring to stay notified is there. Please leave a like on the video if you enjoyed our reaction. And until next time,
You will hit the like button. Hit the like button. Hit the like button. Just the like button. Hit the like button. Hit the like button.
good night, everybody.
Hit the like.